So there are 4 different starter decks in Dragon Ball Super card game Fusion World. Each of them have their own unique representative of their own color, and there are leaders in the actual set that make a good upgrade to them. Today we're going to focus on just upgrading the starter decks in general and sticking with these leaders. First off, we're going to start with Son Goku. It's the red deck, and his awakened side is pretty simple. He basically focuses on battle cards, specifically probably Universe 7, and as well as the activate battle step. You get a lot of value out of boosting your battle cards once per turn on your turn and as well as your opponent's. So the best thing to do is to focus on that. First off, we have Roshi, and he is such a good replacement for any of the self-awakeners that you may have been using before. He has an activate main where you can take a life, and during the turn, you get to reduce an extra card by 1 red, which is pretty sick. That means things like your time skip or your Mafuba or any of the starter deck cards are now a lot cheaper. And as long as they don't get rid of this, you can just keep doing it every single turn and awaken whenever you want to. And also he has a 10k combo, which is just ridiculous. Next up is the Gohan. This one's kind of a quick add, not too crazy to be adding this into your deck immediately, but I think it has great synergy with pretty much anything that you might be doing in red. And he has an on-play effect where you get to choose all of your opponent's battle cards, and he gets negative 10k power, which is quite strong for only 3 energy. Only downside of him is that he only has 5k combo power. Running through him, we have the Son Goku. This is the super rare. He only has 0/0 for the combo power, but the trade-off is really good because he's a 3 cost that is a 25k, 30k on either turn with this leader. And then your on-play effect is that you gain a life, which now in tandem with the Roshi that you played earlier, you can use that for 1 energy, 3 more on this one, and then pretty much on curve and as well as early on, you can now just go ahead and KO something that is 20k power or less and take a life. So the card advantage and as well as the powerfulness, the power that you get out of this card is quite worth it. Here's another trade-off card that is also super rare. It's one of my favorites. It's the 5 cost critical on play, discard a card, and then KO everything 25k power or less. This is the Beerus that is 35k. He is a beefy boy. While you do have to wait until you have 5 or more energy and you have 0/0 combo power, I think a board wipe that it has immediately pretty much a 40k critical swing is pretty awesome, right? You have a lot of pressure with those numbers and the critical keyword, and you get to basically wipe their board. This is a little bit better in the Beerus leader because you have that minus on a stick with the leader effect, but that's okay, and I think it is pretty good with this starter deck as well. Speaking minus on a stick, we have Hits. This is a 2 cost 20k. Pretty good stats with the 5k combo power. When you attack, you get to add a card to your life, so another self-awakener. And you don't have to run all the self-awakeners, but I think this is a really good one in the way of if you want to swing into opponent's battle card that is already rested, now you can minus that 5k and then swing with this or swing with something else afterwards. And I think this is a pretty good one. I think this is on the lower totem, but it is a pretty decent card because it is only 2 energy. Next up is Botamo, which, I think there's a love and hate relationship with this card. In practical use, it's okay. I think it's awesome, but the permanent is just pretty insane when you think about it. Like, you have to really force your opponent to remove this in any other means outside of being KO'd or in battle, basically them swinging at it. Well, I think it is a bummer if since it is a 5k combo power. I think it's an auto add if you have 10k, especially in this early format. But I think this is a pretty cool card. And it's a 25k swing that they have to deal with every single turn if they don't have removal. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just throw in all the extra cards simply because there's a few cool ones. The Representatives Universe 7 allows you to look at the top 5. It is free technically with the Roshi, so you get to take a life, you use this for free, and then look at the top 5 and get a Universe 7 out of the top 5 and place the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. Pretty nifty if you really want all of your Universe 7 pieces to fall together. We also have Time Skip, which basically is your mini Beerus, and this in tandem with other cards that remind us and reduce power for your opponent's battle cards is really good, because now you can get to remove something that is, again, 40,000, 50,000, whatever, in tandem, as long as you have the energy to use. I think Red's really strong in this game, as well as Masters, to basically board clear and take care of threats in an efficient way. And then lastly is the Tournament Power Arena. It's pretty interesting. It's a 2 cost in this game. It used to be a 1, and you get to switch to rest mode, and you get to choose your leader or one of your battle cards that gets 5k power for the battle. Now, there's a trade-off here where if you put too many of these in your deck, you're probably going to see too many of them. You don't really want to see too many of them, but when you do see it and you get to use this as a field card, it just stays there. So you just switch to rest on their turn or on your turn, and in tandem to your leader effect and any other effect that you might use during the activate battle phase, this is completely free. 5k power completely free is nothing to scoff at. All right, let's finally talk about blue, and starting out with the good old Pilaf. Now, if you aren't really understanding why Pilaf is so hyped and talked about, or if you haven't seen that already, it is because it doesn't have a restriction on what it can get outside of the 1 cost. So basically, Pilaf is something that can get back itself, since it doesn't say other than Pilaf, which includes a 10k, but also can get all of your extra cards and all these other earthling things, from like Mai to Trunks and things like that. And I think this is going to be one of the commons that you just have to kind of have in your deck and make sure you're aware of. Next up are a couple Earthlings, ironically enough. These guys are interesting. They both return back battle cards, which doesn't have to be your opponent's. It can be your own. The 3 costs and the 4 costs have 5k power, but the 3 costs can allow you to awaken and be another self-awakener, which is pretty sweet. And the 4 cost can get rid of any of the 3 costs back to your hand, so it can get back that Mai, get back that Pilaf, whatever it may be. But this is important because it has that critical keyword. I think the 3 cost is a little bit better, which is why it's a super rare, especially since it has such a huge range of 5 costs or less. I think these guys are great additions to any of these decks, especially Vegeta, where basically you kind of want to focus on removal and aggression. Now, Goku Black is something different, honestly. He is a cool super rare, and I think he's going to get better as sets go on. I think this is one of those cards that I at least, I'm biased. It's my favorite character, villain that is, and the on play is very cool, being able to get a 4 or less, and if you have 7 or more, or 7 or less in your hand, which is perfect for Vegeta, you get to play that 4 or less that you got, or any other battle card. So you can get a tool or whatever, any card doesn't have to be a battle card. It can be an extra card, it can be a Gallic Gun or whatever it may be, and then when attacking again, you can just play out that 4 cost. Can be any of those Trunkses or any of these other pretty sweet cards that have critical or higher attack power. Be a quick mention, it is a Goku, right? It's a Goku where Goku is just perfect for Vegeta in the way that the permanent is basically a 25k blocker. It's not like the same situation where Frieza has blockers, they can swing with it and then be fine. But what's cool about this is that if you do swing with this with 15k, it is a 25k in rest on their field after you have 7 or less cards in your hand. The other interesting part is that if you do block with this and it's 15k, if you have like 8 cards in hand, you can combo, and you technically get that boost as you combo and go lower in hand size. So just keep that in mind. Next up is Mai. A really cool card, a great target for Pilaf if you really need it. It's only 5k power, and usually what I suggest with Pilaf is that if you combo things out and place into your drop area, then Pilaf can kind of get it back. It is only a 5k, like I said, but the cool thing about this is that Mai allows you to awaken pretty early, and I think what you can do is play Mai, take 2 cards from your life, up to 2 cards, it doesn't have to be the 2, and then combo with it, or return it back with one of the Trunks and draw a card, etc., and then combo it off and then play Pilaf, get it back, and then play it again in order to get those 2 cards back into from your life to your hand, so that way you can awaken easily. And I think she is going to be quite the staple for any blue deck, but perfect for Vegeta. Now I'm going to throw in all of the 3 extra cards. They all kind of do cool things. The 1 cost cards are 20k power, with Trunks being perfect for the Mai in order to return a 2 or less back to the hand. They can kind of get around those 1 and 2 cost blockers if you really want to get rid of them. And then Black Kamehameha just is a card where if you want you know, consistency, that type of thing, it is a good card for that. That way you know what you're going to draw. It is a trade-off for both of them. The activate battle for Final Help Slash is your turn, and then Black Kamehameha is your opponent's turn. Just keep that in mind. But the Sinister Sickle is perfect for yellow, and honestly, literally any other deck. There's not really much else you need to say. I think you need to be running Sinister Sickle for removal. Now let's talk about green, and the perfect card in order to upgrade your Broly deck, in my opinion, is going to be this Gohan. It is a top 3. Look at the top 3 of your deck, reveal a 5 or less Saiyan in special traits, and then add it to your hand. This also includes the 3 cost extra card, right? So the 3 cost extra card that you ramp with makes this very much needed and adds consistency. It is only a 5k combo, which is a bummer, but it has such a good effect. And honestly, you should be running this since it searches most of your Gokus, your Brolys, your whatever in green, but mainly Brolys and the extra cards, and I guess Paragus, Turles? No, Turles doesn't get it. Whatever. You know what I'm saying. Next up is the 18. Not biased, but this one and the next card are 18s. But this 2 costs is, again, one of those staples, I think, because the on-play effect is that you get to draw and then discard 1 card from your hand. And a lot of the time, especially in green, now that is focusing on ramp, you're going to have a lot of higher costed cards, a lot of extra cards, a lot of stuff you don't really need in your hand. And being able to cycle through and being able to have a 2 cost 20k body to swing with when attacking, you get to draw a card. That is just great. I think this is one of the best cards in green that you can just add in any deck, but specifically for Broly, because you are ramping and because you're probably using that as a win condition. This is just great. There's not much else to say. Speaking of ramping and energy, this is the 18 that I was talking about, the 3 costs. Of course, you can play the 4 cost Android 17 that plays this one out. But the reason why I bring this card up is because it is a 10k combo. You kind of want more and more of those into your deck and kind of balance out a little bit better. But the when attacking, being able to place a card from your energy into your drop and then add 1 card from your hand to your energy kind of creates a lot of cool different things. So one, you can place a rested card and then place obviously a card from your hand to your energy that is inactive. So you get that energy back. So if this guy or girl survives, you get to use it throughout the game and sort of continue to use energy in a better way than your opponent. And the other part is that if you're playing Paragus, then hey, Paragus interacts with a drop, and obviously Turles and a couple other cards can do that as well. So just keep that in mind where you're gonna be using this card. Up is the 17 and 18. Hey, who saw that coming? Obviously, I think in Broly for Dr. Gero, in that combination, you could run that sort of thing with all of these Android cards, right? And get to this point where you're playing a 6k or 6 cost 40k attacker that has double strike and be able to KO 2 cards with 3k or less, which by the way, green doesn't really have great spot removal from what I've seen. Like blue and red sort of does that for you, yellow sort of gets around, but green is sort of weird in that place. So like being able to ramp and remove things late game is going to be pretty important. And this 40k double strike swing that doesn't have combo power is pretty good. I think this is not only a awesome looking card, but just a great card to have in your Broly deck. Next up is Vegeta. So remember I was saying that, you know, things interact with your drop into your energy and things like that. This is one of those cards where you can add a card 3 costs or more for your drop in energy and rest mode. So the fact that this guy is a 10k combo too is pretty sick. The on-play effect is perfect for Broly, being able to ramp on curve, on 4, etc. And that to me means not too bad. You get to pop something that is 2 or less. One of the cool things is that obviously, you know, if you're playing this Satana with the 18, you get to discard a card and then go ahead and just interact that way. But yeah, I think Vegeta's great. He's probably a 1-time, 2-time maybe card out of the whole game. but because he is tanking combo, he is perfect to stay in your hand. All right, next up are the 2 extra cards with Instant Kamehameha and Big Bang Attack. These are kind of mediocre when it comes to like all the other extra cards, but when you really think about it, they're good for these decks. Obviously, reduced cost for the Big Bang Attack is great. And again, the same concept of having a lot of energy and then using popping, replacing the card from your energy that is in rest to your drop is very, very good. And honestly, 5 or less is quite good. It's just that these are very conditional things that aren't as conditional when it comes to other extra cards and every other color. So, you know, these are kind of on the back burner, but they're still pretty good. All right, next up is yellow. So finally, you know, yellow, it doesn't really have that many things, but this Frieza is great. You know, it's only a 5k combo, that's fine. But for Frieza, this is perfect, right? The starter deck Frieza works perfectly with this card because of the permanent where it can't basically switch to active mode during your charge phase. Obviously, the Frieza gets around that in switching it back to active at the end of the turn. So not much to say about this guy. He is a 40k beat stick that most decks don't really have at 4 energy. So there you go. Next up is Cooler. Again, perfect for the Frieza deck, where it is a blocker 30k, in which if you're attacking or blocking, you get to switch one of their opponent's battle cards to rest mode. It's one of the most annoying things ever, because if you aren't running any removal for core costs or less, or well, 4 costs or more, I guess, then this guy's going to be blocking and attacking every single turn and restanding with the leader effect, and also KOing 2 or less. So, you know, it is perfect for Frieza, and just overall, just a cool card. Next up is Apple. It should be pretty self-explanatory. It's a 2k or 2 costs, 10k combo power. You don't really want to swing this guy. It's just that you're switching to rest mode, and then you're looking at the top of the deck for a Frieza Army card. Majority of the cards in the starter deck Frieza Army deck is going to be a Frieza's Army. Did I say that right? Whatever. It doesn't have to be a battle card either. It could be an extra card, which is pretty sick. And even if you don't, then you still have the knowledge of what you're going to be drawing the next draw, because you just placed it at the top of the deck anyway. So this guy is a free card every single turn. Gets to restand with the leader effect, and that's pretty much it. Knees is an interesting one. It's not like super crazy good, but because he is a 20k blocker that can swing, that has 10k and also self-awaken, it pretty much checks all the boxes for starter deck Frieza. There you go. And then lastly, Supernova and Crusher Ball. These cards are cool. Supernova can only be used on your turn. That's a huge caveat that you always have to remember, because on their turn it would be pretty dang cool. But this is more of an aggressive card that you get 20k and you get to rest something for LS, and they can't be switched to active mode, which again, that's why it's on your turn. It sort of just interacts better that way. I think overall Supernova is one of the better extra cards for Activate Battle. If it was on both turns, it'd probably be a tier 0 card, tier 1 at least card in my opinion. Crusher Ball, on the other hand, not really. It's a no more kind of plays from Masters, but Crusher Ball allows you to draw and then basically allow you to swing or get around any blockers, which is pretty sick. Lastly, is going to be the Mecha Frieza. You get to play the King Cold, the one that is in the starter deck, and as well there's another one I think in the set. It is just nice to have a card that can fill up the board. Yellow doesn't really do that in my opinion. You can play a lot of lower costed cards, but things that fill up the board over time that is mid to higher range is pretty cool, you know. That's all I can really say about this card. I don't think you should be rushing to get this card into your deck, but overall it's not too bad. All right, that is it. I don't have anything else for you. I think that's all I have with all of these cards. I know this is more of a card review, but at the end of the day, you know, all these cards that I mentioned really do work well with the starter decks and really allow you to upgrade later on into your given color. So I hope you did enjoy this. More Dragon Ball Super Fusion World content later on. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.